Hi, I'm Paul Arthur. This is Bridge City News. Here are some of the top stories we have lined up for you. Despite what the Prime Minister says, the Parliamentary Budget Officer is sounding the alarm about future deficits. Plus, Alberta New Democrats are pushing for a higher minimum wage. We'll look at what kind of living wage you need to survive in Lethbridge. And a Renaissance-era illuminated Bible is put on public display in the Italian Senate.
Your nation, your province, your southern Alberta. From the heart of Lethbridge, it's Bridge City News.
Thanks for joining us. Some unsettling financial news from Ottawa. The Parliamentary Budget Officer projects Ottawa will blow past the new fiscal anchors set out in the federal budget. Interim Budget Officer Jason Jake says Ottawa is set to run an average deficit of $64.3 billion over the next 5 years. That's double the level set out in the federal government's last fiscal update in late 2024. Jake says the deeper deficits are being driven by new day-to-day program spending, despite the Prime Minister's talk of shifting government spending to capital investment. Jake says Ottawa is using overly expansive definitions of capital spending and predicts new spending plans will leave the government with an operating deficit, and says it's unlikely the government will meet its goal of shrinking the deficit as a share of gross domestic product. A public policy think tank is saying Canadians need to heed this alarm from the Parliamentary Budget Officer. Gabriel Giguère, a senior policy analyst at the Montreal Economic Institute, says this new split of operational and capital spending in the latest budget has allowed the feds to make themselves look like responsible fiscal stewards, which is not the case.
Federal government was basically saying this is an historical budget. We will invest massively in capital. And what the PBO just released is that when we analyze the budget with the international criteria, not the subjective criteria of the current federal government, what we understand is that there's $94 billion on the next 5 years that are not capital investment, even if the government say it is. And so what it currently means is that the 2028-2029 budget, well, the government was saying it will be a balanced budget in terms of operation, which is not the case. It will be deficit, and it will still be a deficit in 2029, 2030. So it is important to understand that the government is not building things, is giving things away, and this will cost us a lot of money because the debt will still going higher and higher, and we will pay interest on that debt.
Giguère says this isn't just a continuation of the previous government's high spending habits. It's worse because now they're trying to obscure the truth. At the Alberta Municipalities meeting in Calgary this week, members voted overwhelmingly in favor of a municipal accommodation tax, allowing them to charge a fee to guests staying at hotels, Airbnbs, and other accommodations. Airdrie Mayor Heather Spearman brought forward the resolution. Municipalities would be able to determine tax rates, collection methods, and revenue allocation based on local infrastructure and tourism development needs. Over 74% of Alberta municipalities' 264 members voted in favor of the resolution. For the tax to come into effect, the Alberta government would need to amend the Municipal Government Act. Alberta's New Democrats are calling on their colleagues in the legislature to vote in favor of a hike to the minimum wage next week. The NDP's Bill 201, called the Protect Workers' Pay Act, would raise Alberta's minimum wage, eliminate the youth minimum wage differential, and protect tips for service workers across the province.
We'll all vote for it. But on Monday, it'll be up to the UCP. It'll be up to the United Conservative Party MLAs who will decide whether Alberta's minimum wage will finally increase, whether we will no longer be the only jurisdiction in Alberta that does not index the minimum wage to inflation, and whether we remove the minimum wage. Or whether we will, the youth minimum wage, excuse me, or whether we'll remain the lowest in the country. Bill 201 is a chance for all MLAs to vote in favor of workers, in favor of affordability, in favor of better wages.
The reality is, without tuition support, I simply would not be able to cover the cost of my program. Many of my peers are working harder than ever at wages as low as $13 an hour. Bill 201 offers a way forward for young people. We must bring youth up to an increased minimum wage to ensure we are paid equally for equal work, so that we can afford to live.
Bill 201 would raise Alberta's minimum wage by $1 per year for 3 years, beginning December 2025, reaching $18 an hour by October 2027. The current minimum wage in Alberta is $15 per hour. New studies show the projected costs of living in Alberta have substantially increased, particularly here in Lethbridge. The United Way, in collaboration with the Alberta Living Wage Network, has determined the living wage in Lethbridge has risen by $2.30 over last year to a new standard of $22.30 per hour. Factors to determine a city's living wage include the costs of housing, transportation, groceries, education, and childcare, among others. Despite the $7 gap between the minimum wage and the projected living wage, United Way Lethbridge says there are plenty of businesses that do provide a living wage.
Well, Lethbridge has been very good at having certified living wage employers, and it does make a difference when businesses are paying a living wage. Right now there's a $7.30 gap between minimum wage and living wage. And right now there's about 16,000 minimum wage employers that are being paid minimum wage who are head of households with a child under 18 that are being supported. When you're being paid a minimum wage, you're often not being able to contribute to the community like those that are being paid a living wage or higher. And often they have to take on multiple jobs, and the production at work is not as often effective. When you're being paid a living wage, you're being able to invest in your community. You're often being satisfied better at work, and turnover at work is less, what's being reported from our certified living wage employers. Policy change would be something that we would love to see happen. We haven't had a minimum wage increase since October of 2018, and having more affordable housing would also support our residents. 15
out of 21 studied municipalities in Alberta saw increases in their living wage. Edmonton posts the same number as Lethbridge at $22.30. Calgary holds a higher number at $26.50, and Medicine Hat holds the lowest wage needed to make a living at $18.15 per hour. Alberta's UCP government has announced a new acute care action plan that will add more than 1,000 hospital beds, deliver 50,000 additional surgeries, and make targeted investments aimed at easing pressures across the province's healthcare system. Minister of Hospital and Surgical Health Services Matt Jones laid out some of the details to reporters in Calgary.
I'm pleased to share that planning is now underway to add over 1,000 new hospital beds in Edmonton and Calgary, including 2 new hospital towers at the Grey Nuns in Misericordia in Edmonton and a bed tower here at the South Health Campus Hospital in Calgary. Essential new spaces that will give hospitals more capacity as they've been seeing increased demand in response to a rapidly growing and aging population. This is, of course, in addition to other major projects like the Red Deer Regional Hospital Centre redevelopment and our plans to build 8 new urgent care centres. We are also adding 50,000 additional surgeries over the next 3 years to our already record surgical program by expanding hospital operating room capacity and partnering with chartered surgical facilities, ensuring more Albertans receive timely surgeries within clinically recommended wait times.
Led by the Minister of Assisted Living and Social Services, plans are underway to significantly expand, as I mentioned, continuing care spaces. And we're also developing a provincial neonatal intensive care unit strategy to ensure Alberta has the capacity needed to care for our most vulnerable infants.
Not surprisingly, the group Friends of Medicare has little good to say about the announcement. Executive Director Chris Galloway called it political theatre, while communities across Canada are experiencing temporary closures of healthcare facilities due to clinical personnel shortages. And Galloway says it's clear the province is moving toward more surgeries being done at for-profit surgical centres. A double-decker bus crashed into a bus stop in Stockholm Friday, killing 3 people and injuring 3 others. Police, ambulances, and emergency vehicles responded to the scene, with rescue crews crouched down along the underside of the double-decker bus, appearing to help people trapped underneath. The bus driver has been arrested and is being questioned. However, police say at this point they do not believe that the collision was intentional. Members of the Lethbridge Métis Association commemorated Métis Week and Louis Riel Day this week with a flag raising on Thursday night. The association, which has run independently from the Métis Nation of Alberta for 2 years, says they are committed to connecting local members of Métis descent and promote pride in the community.
So here in Lethbridge, our Métis community really want to acknowledge this week. And for so long, the Métis people have been forced to hide and be ashamed of who they are. And Métis Week is a really great time for us to be able to come out and show our pride and show our culture and reconnect with kin and families. It's super important, and we really appreciate the support that the city has given us with, we have Métis Trail here, we have our flag flying, just to show that, the Métis are an Indigenous group that have a very unique culture and are spread throughout the 3 provinces, like with our Métis homeland, and it's just having that appreciation to know that we exist.
Métis Week in Lethbridge began on Monday and continues to run until Louis Riel Day on Sunday. The Lethbridge Trade and Convention Centre will mark the start of the holiday season with the Glow Lethbridge Festival, which kicks off tonight. The indoor holiday light show and market is entering its 3rd year with some new and returning features, as well as various theme nights, capping off with a New Year's Eve party. The Director of Event Development at Excite Lethbridge says while the event is relatively new, it has already been deemed to be one of the more popular holiday events in the city.
The way that the layout works this year, I think that even if you visited it before, you're going to be in for some new surprises, and it really is a fun show. We have a fairy tale theme this year, which we're really excited about, and I think that it just kind of brings an entertainment value for the whole family that we are just thrilled to open the doors and get the holiday season started. Reception through the first 2 years has been outstanding. We've seen really great crowds. The critical reception has gone up year over year. So we know that going into year 3, what we're really hoping is that we've now sort of become part of those holiday traditions, that we're getting people who are coming back year over year, who are knowing that when their family comes to town, we're going to go to Glow Lethbridge and check it out. And right through this whole 7-week run, we're going to have all kinds of exciting things to tailor your experience to.
The full schedule and tickets for Glow Lethbridge can be found online. And while you're at the Trade and Convention Centre this weekend, everything is ready for the 31st annual Stringham Christmas Tree Festival, during which the Convention Centre is transformed into a winter wonderland. The festival runs from November 16th to 19th and is a community tradition that supports critical patient care and healthcare services in southern Alberta. The event is organized by the Chinook Regional Hospital Foundation. CEO Crystal Elliott explains what this represents for our community.
We fund equipment and programs and special projects for the Chinook Regional Hospital Foundation and surrounding areas. And so this event reflects our commitment for care for every generation. The support we receive directly impacts for you, for me, and for our friends and families. In our previous venue, we always anticipated that about 3,500 individuals were able to come through and see the trees and enjoy the magic of it. This year, we're hoping to be well over that 5,000 to allow our community to enjoy it. Whether you come to enjoy the community events, they're free. We do culminate this event with our Christmas Tree Gala, where we auction off all of these beautiful trees. Tickets are still available. You can go to www.crhfoundation.ca and purchase your tickets there.
For Excite Lethbridge, this is such an honor to showcase our facility, showcase Glow Lethbridge, showcase all the other community events that happen at this time of year. And it's a great way to utilize our venue and bring our community members here and really start the holiday season.
Last year saw more than 3,500 attendees, raising more than $180,000 through the gala and auction. One of the most spectacular examples of Renaissance illuminated manuscripts is going on rare public display as part of the Vatican's Holy Year celebrations. The 15th century Borso d'Este Bible, known for its miniature paintings in gold, was unveiled Thursday in the Italian Senate, where it will remain on display until January 16th.
La Bibbia di Borso d'Este è veramente il più straordinario codice miniato della storia italiana. Viene fatta durante il Rinascimento, nella seconda parte del 400, su input appunto di Borso d'Este, l'esponente della dinastia estense, che vuole così celebrare non solo il libro sacro per eccellenza, ma anche l'idea elevata che aveva di sé e della propria dinastia. La Bibbia è veramente forse il libro più costoso dell'epoca, di quando è stata fatta, per la profusione incredibile di oro e anche di materiali pregiatissimi, di pigmenti preziosi, fra cui il lapislazzuli che veniva dall'Afghanistan e che poi ovviamente andava macinato, andava reso fruibile per fare una miniatura. Quindi uno sfarzo straordinario, ma non solo, ogni pagina è una storia a sé, ogni pagina racconta.
The Bible will remain behind humidity-controlled plate glass during its Roman sojourn, and visitors can read it digitally via touchscreen displays featuring ultra-high resolution images. If you're wondering why I'm sitting at the news desk this week and not our Jeanette Rocher, well, Jeanette is in Winnipeg for Grey Cup and joins us now to tell us what she's been up to. Hi, Jeanette.
Hi, Paul. Well, you might be wondering what I am doing here in Winnipeg for the Grey Cup Festival. Actually, I'm here because I'm part of the CFL Cheerleader Alumni Organization. I cheered for the Bombers way back. I'm not going to tell you how long ago because that will age me. But there's a group of us here from all different generations, girls that cheered from all 9 teams all throughout the decades, some back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, all up until 2024, really. So we're all here. It's a big festival going on for 3 days. It's a lot more than just shaking your pom-poms. We are actually involved in community work as well. A number of us volunteered the other morning at Agape Table where we served sandwiches, we wrapped pastries, and served about 1,000 people who are in need. So there's a lot going on. It's been a busy week. We're also going to be serving and flipping pancakes this week and involved in the Santa Claus Parade, which is a huge deal in Winnipeg. So it's the Santa Claus Parade, and they've added the Grey Cup to it, like they do every year. So it's a big party. It's just getting started, and it's Friday, so it's really about to get heated, especially for Saturday and Sunday. Back to you, Paul.
All right, thanks, Jeanette. Looks like you've been having a good time. The Saskatchewan Roughriders will be facing the Montreal Alouettes in the 112th Grey Cup game Sunday at 4 o'clock Mountain Time. Enbridge plans to spend $1.4 billion US to increase its capacity to ship Canadian heavy oil to the United States. The Canadian company says it reached a final investment decision to add capacity on its mainline network and its Flanagan South pipeline. Enbridge says it has been facing customer demand to increase deliveries of Canadian heavy oil to key refining markets in the U.S. Midwest and Gulf Coast. The added capacity is expected to be available in 2027. Canadian manufacturing sales rose 3.3% to $72.1 billion in September, its highest level since February. Statistics Canada says the increase came as sales rose in 14 of the 21 subsectors, boosted by a 9.2% gain in transportation equipment and a 5.3% hike in petroleum and coal. In a separate report, the agency says wholesale sales, excluding petroleum products and other hydrocarbons, and oil seed and grain rose 0.6%. Wholesale sales, excluding those same items, in volume terms also rose 0.6% in September. An American investment firm has dropped its offer to buy the publisher of Britain's 170-year-old conservative Daily Telegraph newspaper for about $900 million Canadian. Redbird Capital was leading a consortium and said in May that it had reached an in-principle agreement to become the controlling owner of the Telegraph Media Group. Today, it says it will work to help find a solution for the group. The Telegraph Group publishes the Daily and Sunday Telegraph newspapers, both of which are closely allied to Britain's Conservative Party. Now, here's a look at today's markets.
The TSX was down 72 to 30,326. The Dow was down 309 to 47,147. The S&P 500 was down 3 to 6,734. and the Nasdaq was up 30 to 22,900. West Texas Intermediate oil was up $1.28 to $59.97 US per barrel. Natural gas was down 13 cents to $4.50 US. Gold was down 88.54 to $40.8211 US an ounce, and silver was down 180 to $50.50 US an ounce. Feed wheat is at $7.35 per bushel, barley is at $5.73, canola is at $14.71, and corn is at $7.34 per bushel. The live cattle December contract was up 15 cents to $2.19.15. Feeder cattle were up $1.67 to $3.38.67, and lean hogs December contract was up 42 cents to $78.50. And the Canadian dollar was up slightly over the past 24 hours and currently sits at 71.30 US.
Recapping one of our top stories, Canada's Parliamentary Budget Officer is projecting that Ottawa will blow past the new fiscal anchors set out in the federal budget. Jason Jake says Ottawa is set to run an average deficit of $64.3 billion over the next 5 years. That's double the level set out in the government's last fiscal update in late 2024. Jakes predicts the new spending plans will leave the government with an operating deficit and says it's unlikely the government will meet its goal of shrinking the deficit as a share of gross domestic product. Well, it seems that free speech is too often under the gun these days if the opinions expressed don't line up with the current narrative. A new private member's bill is proposing to criminalize residential school denialism. David Leese with the Frontier Center for Public Policy joins us next with the details. When you see news happening in your community, be sure to send us an email at info@bridgecitynews.ca. You can also visit our website or YouTube channel anytime to check out more of our stories and interviews.